What's going on, football watchers? It's your boy here. We're going to be breaking down the Seattle Seahawks versus Tennessee Titan game, which is going to be played in Nashville this weekend at 1 o'clock Pacific time, 4 o'clock Eastern time. Now, this is an interesting matchup for both teams, as both teams are coming off of wins last week. Seattle beat San Francisco in Seattle in a game where they struggled to score a touchdown until the end of the game. And Tennessee is coming off a game both teams are coming off of divisional wins. Tennessee against Jacksonville, a game that they pretty much blew out Jacksonville, and were able to get their running game going, especially Derrick Henry. This is going to be an interesting matchup for Tennessee's front seven against that Seattle offensive line. Seattle's offensive line is very weak, probably one of the worst in all of football, and we're looking at a chance for Tennessee's front seven to get pressure on them throughout the entire game. Now, Brian Orakpo, Derek Morgan, Jarrell Casey, and Daquan Jones are guys that we have to keep our eyes on here. Jarrell Casey is one of the best, in my eyes, the best 3-4 defensive end in the game. Brian Orakpo still can get pressure, and Derek Morgan can still get pressure. So those guys are guys that we're going to have to keep our eyes on in Dick LeBeau's system, where it's all about creating confusion with the quarterback, which Russell Wilson, I will say, doesn't get confused. It's more that he's running for his life with this bad offensive line. Now, some keys to this game is going to be, for Tennessee, it's going to be trying to get that running game going. Carlos Hyde ran for 120 yards last week against the Seattle defense, which is, to me, very unheard of, because there are a couple guys in the league who can get 100 yards, but it takes them at least 20 carries, 25 carries. I think it only took Carlos Hyde about 15 to 20, I believe. And that's crazy considering the talent discrepancy between San Francisco and Seattle. Now, Tennessee's offensive line, like I've said a bunch of times about them, is that it's one of the best offensive lines at getting downhill and using their strength, which is their running game. Now, Derrick Henry and DeMarco Murray are both on the injury report this week as questionable. I expect both players to play. And another key thing for Tennessee in this matchup is going to be for them to keep Marcus Mariota up, keep him healthy, keep him from getting hit by that Seattle front four. I think that Seattle front four can still cause havoc no matter what offensive line they're playing. It's just getting the ball out quick. I don't think Richard Sherman is the same corner that he has been. That defense I feel like that defense plays hard whenever they're on the field, so they might get worn out over time because they have to constantly allow field goals. They can't allow touchdowns because of how bad that scoring offense is for Seattle. Now, on the flip side, for Seattle's offense to have success against Tennessee's defense, is obviously it starts with that offensive line, which is one of their weakest suits here. And it's going to be trying to keep Russell Wilson safe in that pocket. I know Dick LeBeau is all about creating pressure and getting crazy looks. He'll be in a 1-5-5, 2-4-5, but he'll have guys moving around all along the line of scrimmage inside the box. So we'll be looking at that. On the outside, Doug Baldwin, I think, is going to draw Logan Ryan in this game, or maybe a little bit of Adoree Jackson. We'll see. So that's something to look at. And Jimmy Graham against the linebackers and safeties here. If Russell Wilson and Jimmy Graham could ever start clicking, it'd be great, but I just don't see it because they have to use him as a blocker, and Jimmy Graham is not a very good blocker in my opinion. Now, for Seattle, trying to get that running game going, I don't know who's going to start at running back. I know Thomas Rawls came back last week. Eddie Lacy was inactive, and I think it's Chris Carson. He ended up getting the bulk of the carries last week. So, there's a bunch of different factors to look at here, especially on that Seattle offense. Now, Seattle's defense, their goal is always going to be the same. Create pressure with their front four so their linebackers can play freely, so the defensive backs can make plays on the ball. So, looking at the matchups on the outside for Tennessee against some Seattle corners are going to be, I think it's going to be Rashard Matthews on Richard Sherman. I don't think Sherman's going to travel in this game with the receiver because it's not like Tennessee has elite receivers, at least not yet. Jury's still on Corey Davis, who they drafted this past season. Delanie Walker's going to, I think Cam Chancellor will probably be covering him, but Delanie Walker, I think, has a speed advantage. but it's just going to be based upon Marcus Mariota being able to step up in the pocket that is clean, and then once again running the ball. So now that we've gone over what we think is gonna happen or what both teams need to do, let's look at the 3 key reasons for each team why they'll win. Now for Tennessee, why they'll win is that they're able to do what every team has done to Seattle, and that's get pressure on Russell Wilson. Tennessee is able to chew clock, which means that they're able to sit on the ball for about 30 to 33 minutes. It's not all about the rushing yards. It's about being able to stick with it and being able to draw some play action off of it. Because if you can create play action off of your run game, you have a great chance to win games because of how the deep threat could be there. Big plays normally come off of play action if the quarterback is looking down the field for the right guy. And the third reason here is that Tennessee is able to keep Mariota clean. He's able to throw for about 200 yards, 2 touchdowns, get an additional 30 on the ground, and they're able to keep Seattle's defense on its toes. And the offensive line of Tennessee is able to create push off that offensive line to open up holes for both running backs. Now on the flip side, why Seattle will win? Experience. This team just knows how to play. They've been playing together for a while. Number 2, Russell Wilson is actually able to create time using his legs and find Doug Baldwin and Jimmy Graham in the passing game for huge gains and for touchdowns. If Russell Wilson even gets about 220 yards, 2 touchdowns, and adds another 30 to 40 on the ground, they should be able to win this game. That's also not including whoever's running the ball for the Seahawks, which could be Rawls, Lacey, Carson. If those guys can get an additional 80 between them, Seattle will win this game. And if the running game goes hand in hand with time of possession here. And the third reason why they win is that they're able to pressure Mariota enough into creating those linebackers to freely play in their zones or over their covering, and for the DBs to play to be able to play man-to-man, which is something that they excel at, and being able to get interceptions, turnovers, any type of if you win the turnover battle, everybody knows that you win the game, and Seattle prides itself on the turnover battle. So my prediction for this game is that Tennessee will actually win this game. Home field. It's a huge game. If they're able to win this game, they'll be in the talk of where do you see them in the AFC. Maybe not elite, but I think if they win this game, they'll be talked about in the above average team section here. I think that they'll win this game 20 to 13. Derrick Henry and DeMarco Murray combined for about 120 rush yards. I know that's not a lot, but it is what it is. 120 rush yards, a touchdown, and Mariota is able to win the game on a couple of key passes late in the game. So that's going to wrap it up for this game. I'm going to bring you guys Washington and Oakland tomorrow, and I think we're going to do Philadelphia and New York on Friday. So make sure to keep an eye out for those videos. I thank you guys for watching. Make sure to check out the other videos for this week. My other game previews would be greatly appreciated. I'm out. Thanks, guys.